Alright, so here's day one of the new project. Kawasaki Prairie 400, 12 years in a barn. And so step one is tear it down so I can start cleaning out the fuel system. The only thing I've done so far is I did pull the battery, put it on a charger with full of water, and now I gotta start cleaning out the fuel system. Alright, so I pulled off a bunch of the plastics. May not have been necessary for all of that to come off, but I just want to do some cleaning, mainly to get the walnut shells and dirt and grass out of everything. But there's my fuel tank, that's the next thing to come off, and then the carburetor. Alright, the gas tank is out. It was about quarter full of old varnished fuel. And then there's the carburetor. The fuel was left on, which means that carburetor is going to be full of the same nasty old varnish. So here we go, we're going to take that carburetor off. Alright, I got the carburetor out, and since I'm working on my quad, Marshall's working on his. We'll have the video on the Power Wheels repair later. But for now, we'll get back to the carburetor, which is sitting here. I drained the carburetor out. Now it's time to take it apart and clean it. Basically, what we're going to do is take the bowl off the bottom of the carburetor that holds all the fuel. Should be just 1, 2, 3, 4 screws. Holding that on, and we'll take a look in there. Alright, so the bowl is off, and you can see all the nastiness in there. And then everything is coated. I've kind of broken one of these loose. This smaller one here is going to be your pilot jet. Now you should be able, see there's a tiny hole that's actually supposed to be a little bit bigger. It's actually completely gummed up with this old varnished fuel. And this is your float, which when that thing pushes all the way up, when it gets through the full of fuel, it stops the fuel from coming into the carburetor. And what it does is push on this little pin. Okay, so this little plunger is what stops and starts the fuel. Now, you saw how easily that just came out. It did not come out that easily the first time I tried. It was actually completely glued in by the varnish and the old fuel. So this thing's going to need a major cleaning. Now this other jet here is the pilot jet. This is for your idle to 1/4 throttle. This is the pilot jet for your idle to 1/4 throttle. And then this one is for your 1/4 throttle to full throttle. Okay, so both jets are out. I also am going to go ahead and remove this. So you can see all the nasty old fuel in it. And now I'm going to empty about half a can of carb cleaner on this thing. Okay, hit this thing with a bunch of carb cleaner in every tube, hole, vent, everything I could find. It's about as clean as I think I can make it. One last thing I like to test is to make sure the float is working. I just hooked up a little bit of hose and blow into it and work the float up and down to you'll hear the air coming in and stopping. That's good. So put this thing back together and hope it works. Okay, got the carb back in, fuel tank back in, everything's clean. Hooked up the, I'm borrowing some electricity from my wife's car, and I didn't have any power at all. It turned out it was a ground wire off, broken, down here behind all this plastics. So it's just one little ground wire. Made everything not work. on. Choke. Alright, well now that I got it running, I'm dealing with the next problem, which is getting it rolling. I had to hit this with a hammer a lot to get it off. They were completely rusted on there on the brakes. So now it's time to remove the pad and clean up these discs and pads and put it all back together again. Alright, well I got it running. I didn't get it to roll very well. That still needs some work. Still needs an oil change and maybe coolant and get it running better and get the brakes freed up better. But that's it for today.